Of course, communication is two-way, so I want to point out that there are various patterns in our communication, depending not only on my style, but that of another or other people with whom I'm communicating. And a dance is a good metaphor to describe these patterns because they each have a predictable tempo and series of steps. Some dances are loud and animated, and others more civilized, polite. Others are detached and uninvolved. And although they're usually stable in who plays which roles, the partners sometimes change step in the middle of a dance when their tactic isn't getting them what they want. So one pattern is dominating, accommodating. In this pattern, one pattern is in control and the other person is either less invested in a particular outcome or chooses to accommodate to avoid conflict or disapproval. They may be part of a harmonious relationship, but the caution is that the accommodator may develop some resentment over time if he or she isn't able to influence enough of the decision making. A second pattern is dominating, dominating. Each person vies for power and tries to win their way, usually which means getting the other person to change or at least accept their desires or point of view. These can be noisy relationships in which there are lots of attacks and defending, with neither person really hearing what the other has to say or responding to their needs. A third pattern is dominating, avoiding. One person tries to control and the other's more indifferent, sometimes passively resistant. The power struggle of this relationship is just as real but less apparent than that of the dominating pattern. In fact, it's often baffling to the dominator who thinks he or she is calling the shots, and yet the avoider is not playing and instead is doing his or her own thing. A fourth pattern is avoiding. In this pattern, neither partner likes conflict and even emotional sensitive subjects, and so they keep their relationship on more of a day-to-day kind of basis. Sometimes they live somewhat parallel lives, neither putting a lot of demands or expecting too much from the other. They experience little conflict and few highs or lows, although their deepest needs for connection may not be met. A fifth pattern is accommodating. This is a pattern in which both parties want to please and defer to the other. They aren't used to thinking about their own needs as individuals and their own wants, and so they don't have strong opinions about things. And because they're both high in empathy, each may like it when the other person is happy. A couple of accommodators are going to be pretty easygoing and also slow making decisions. A sixth pattern is accommodating, avoiding. Although neither pattern wants to get conflict on the table, the accommodator will harbor deeper feelings and hope that the avoider will read their subtle messages and be more sensitive. The avoider usually doesn't pick up on these messages until they become more extreme, and they may be exacerbated by the accommodator's neediness and tendency to make a big issue out of things. Well, I'm not saying that these patterns are right or wrong or good or bad. I'm saying that they are common. If you become aware of them, you can better understand your relationships so that you can make more conscious choices about when to engage and when to disengage from them and use a different style of communicating. Although it's easier to identify the styles in our personal relationships, they also, of course, exist at work. And you're undoubtedly not stuck in a single pattern since it's a function of the relationship. You may have a different pattern with your partner, with your children, with your parents, with your boss, co-workers, and so on. Of course, a seventh pattern is collaborate. And this is the ideal. Most of the time, not all of the time, but most of the time we want to engage and collaborate. Each person is high on both assertiveness and empathy. They're willing to state openly their point of view and simultaneously show respect for the other's point of view. No one person is trying to coerce the other to their view, nor are they acquiescing or avoiding sensitive issues. They're seeking truth or what's right and best for both parties. And again, this is where we want to be, especially when we're seeking to resolve a conflict or make a decision. Now, you might be wondering about patterns in which one person is a collaborator and somebody else is a dominator, accommodator, or avoider. My experience is that a collaborator can often, even usually, bring others into collaboration. I'm not saying it's always easy, I'm not saying it will always work, but by showing up with goodwill and modeling lots of empathy as well as assertiveness, they can often influence the tone and process of communication and help others move from their native styles to a more collaborative attitude as well. So let's move forward. We've been talking about the 4 styles of communication. In the next section of the course, I'm going to do an overview of healthy communication. In particular, we're going to explore what we do in our communication that is helpful and strengthening in our relationships with other people, and what we do that is unhelpful, even weakening, sometimes not even being aware and understanding of what we're doing that's weakening. So I'll see you there.